Welcome to the podcast Emotional Intelligence, your greatest asset and key to success. I'm your host, Dr. Jami Carlacio, coming to you weekly from the Greater New Haven, Connecticut area. As a positive intelligence, or PQ coach, I'm committed to helping people develop a mindset and an approach to life that regards problems as situations that help us learn and grow. Mental fitness is like a gym for our mind. The more we work out, the stronger we become. That strength is our inner sage. PQ is a way of being and doing in the world that enables us to develop and sustain a positive relationship with ourselves and others, at home, at work, and everywhere in between. Please subscribe to this podcast and tap the like button, making the podcast visible to more people who can enjoy the benefits of PQ. And now, here's the show. Hello, and welcome to the inaugural podcast, Emotional Intelligence, your greatest asset and key to success. I started this podcast because I was completely caught up in all of the negative chatter going on between my ears. It was crazy making. It affected all areas of my life, my work, my home, everything in between. And after spending about 20 years in higher education and another few earning a Master of Divinity degree and working as a chaplain, I was still unhappy. And there wasn't really an external reason for that. So I found out it was just literally all in my head. Literally, it was all the stuff that I was listening to, all of that negative chatter telling me about all the problems I had and all the problems other people had. And so last summer, I finally said, hey, God, what's going on here? I've done this and this and this, and nothing's working. And loudly and clearly, Spirit answered, go help people. And that's how I ended up becoming a master certified professional coach. And then later I trained as a positive intelligence coach. And that's where I am today. Positive intelligence is a combination of emotional intelligence and mental fitness. It was conceived and developed by a man named Shirzad Chamine, who, as a result of his own experience, came to understand how his own thinking had been sabotaged, and it directly affected his behavior, his health, his self-worth, all the relationships he had. And he finally got to a breaking point. So long story short, he developed this program, this way of life that when applied to our daily lives, literally changes our minds, and then it changes our lives, because what goes on in here manifests everywhere else in our body, in what we say, what we do, how we behave, how we treat people, how we treat ourselves. So the PQ program teaches us that we all have an inner judge, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It's that inner critic telling you, oh, you're no good, or I can't believe you said that, or that's totally wrong, or you're never gonna amount to anything, or they're never gonna promote you. You're not that good. And then the judge has 9 accomplices: the avoider, the stickler, the hypervigilant, the hyperachiever, the hyperrational, the controller, the victim, the pleaser, and the restless one. So 10 very damaging thinking going on in our heads at any given time. We are sabotaged by those. They hijack us. And so positive intelligence, what Shirzad found out is that we also have a sage part of our brain. But because we have been so conditioned to listen to these saboteurs, our brain has created a neural pathway. And when our amygdala is fired up, we go into the negative patterns, and we don't even know there's another way. But when you learn PQ and you develop these muscles, you start to build a new neural pathway. And that new neural pathway consists of the inner sage, that inner voice that helps you discern rightly, that helps you turn off the negative chatter, that helps you make good decisions, that basically takes you down a path that you were destined to be on in the first place. We were not born to be miserable, were we? So Today's episode is on awareness, acceptance, and action. Each month, I'm doing a series of three very short podcasts and then a longer one with a person I interview. And they all correspond to a letter of the alphabet. So this month is A for awareness, acceptance, and action. So today I'm just going to give you a broad overview of what that means and what that looked like. And then later on in this series, we'll talk about personal and professional relationships. And then I'm going to have a coach on whom I've interviewed, and she's going to talk about how she had some breakthrough with her clients on awareness, acceptance, and action. So we often think things are problems. And as soon as we think it's a problem, it becomes a mountain in our minds. All of a sudden, it's something you have to solve. Can you do it? Oh, this can't be done. It's never been done. It never worked last time. So if we can change our thinking, even to situations, problems are not really problems. They're situations that come up that we have to deal with. We have to figure out how to address it. And if we address it with our judge or our avoider who says, oh, no, just don't even deal with that. Let's put it away and maybe it'll go away, or a stickler. Well, this is huge because everything's not perfect and everything's going to go wrong. So all the judge and the saboteurs are coming in and talking to us and basically taking us down. But again, we don't have to be there. What we learn is we become aware of the chatter. We become aware that that's going on. And hey, by the way, that chatter is not me. That chatter, my thoughts are not who I am. They're my thoughts. And so as soon as we can step back and say, these are my thoughts, and by the way, these are the negative thoughts, and they're not serving me and they're not serving anyone else, then we can say, okay, I see it. I accept it. You're here. But positive intelligence and emotional intelligence and mental fitness help us understand that we can accept it, but then we can take action and go in a different direction. And that's the beauty of the program. It's not that it's easy, but with practice, just like when you go to a gym to tone your muscles, you have to keep going, or you're in the same shape you were as before you went to the gym. So one of the most insidious things that our judge and accomplices do is trick us into thinking that things will be better when. Things will get better when I get this other job. Things will get better when I'm in that special relationship. Things will get better when I quit that job or leave that relationship or win that money or get that car or buy that house. It doesn't matter. Whenever we start thinking about things that haven't happened and attach our happiness to those, we're back in Miseryville. And our judge and accomplices love that. They love it. So you're never going to be happy when, but you can be happy now. You can choose to live differently, to think differently, and to completely turn away from all of that negative chatter that's just lying to you anyway, because you are a beautiful human being, no matter what anyone else says. So one of the things we try to do is meditate. Many of us meditate. And the people who say, oh, I can't meditate, or I'm terrible about meditating, that's your judge talking. There's no one rule for meditating, but we do know a lot of times we use the breath as an anchor. And if you're like me, you have 65,000 thoughts running through your head on a daily basis. That's a fact. And so they come crowding in. So I'll meditate, I'll focus on my breath. And pretty soon I'm thinking about the things I have to do at 9 o'clock this morning. I have this, I have to go to work. I have a meeting I have to get to. And is there going to be traffic? Am I going to be late? Looks like I'm leaving 10 minutes late. What does that mean for me? And what are people going to think of me if I do show up late to work? All of that happens. And then I'm thinking about the grocery list that I haven't made and the dinner I haven't cooked and my daughter's ballet concert that I haven't even gone to. So pretty soon, everything I was trying to do with my breathing went out the window, and I am off to the races with things that have not happened yet. And they just make for craziness in between our ears. So with PQ, you develop this other muscle. You say, okay, I'm aware. except that you're here, but now I don't have to listen to you anymore. And it defeats the purpose if we beat ourselves up. Oh, I can't believe it. I did it again. My focus changed. It's okay. You were aware of it. You brought it back. You were aware of it. You brought it back. That's what matters. So when we become toned up and we've been at the PQ gym, we'll become aware of the judge and the buddies, and we'll say, oh yeah, okay, I see you. Here's my stickler going at it again, telling me I have to be perfect, telling me everything has to be just right. And if it isn't, then I'm a loser. So I can say, thank you very much. I've heard you. And now you can go sit in the corner while I turn my attention to another direction. And that direction is the self-affirming, life-affirming direction of the sage. And one of the things also, what we do at the PQ gym is we turn our attention to our senses as in the here and now. I can't breathe in the future. I can only breathe now. I can't see in the future. I can only see right now what's in front of me. I can't smell in the future. I can't smell in the past. So by turning our attention to our senses, say something tactile, one of Shirzad's favorite things is to rub your fingertips together and feel the ridges. And when you focus on feeling the ridges in your fingertips, you're not listening to a judge, you're not listening to the stickler or the avoider. You're just doing this. And as soon as you interrupt that thought process, you start building that other neural pathway. And the more you do it, the stronger it gets. And the more your brain starts going down the sage path versus the judge path. And I guarantee you, with some practice, you will notice a difference. So if you're starting to panic at a crazy day that lies ahead, try to stop and say, what would my sage do right now? And your sage may say, just take some deep breaths. You know, I do PQ in the car. I'm often running a little bit late. I always think I can get one more thing in before I leave, and it's usually not true. So when I am panicking because my stickler's telling me I can't be late, you can't be late, Jami. They're going to be mad at you. They're never going to want you back again or whatever. They're not going to respect you. I hold my hands on the steering wheel and I touch the stitching on the leather of my steering wheel. Or I focus on how my tires are on the road, particularly if it's a bumpy road. So those things get me right out of judge mode. They get me right out of stickler mode. And it has worked tremendously because once I start thinking about the road or my steering wheel, I've forgotten everything else. And I even do it with drivers that cut me off or won't let me in the freeway or just, tailgating me. That happens a lot where I live. And I actually just started blessing people. As soon as I see myself getting mad at what somebody else is doing that I have no control over, I have control over my reaction, I just say, bless you. I hope you have a good day in my heart. And then it's gone. Whatever little resentment was starting to bubble up is completely gone. It totally, totally works. But remember, this isn't like one and done, or you're going to get this in a week and it's going to be perfect. It takes time and it takes practice. If you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of this negative chatter going on in your head, of course, that is a well-worn path to the judge. And it's going to take a while to get out of those ruts and start clearing the path to the sage. So don't worry if you don't feel like you've gotten it right away. It's okay. Nobody does. But now that you know, you can become aware of the judge. You can accept that the judge or the accomplices came near you. And then you can say, I'm going to take an action. And that action is to do a PQ rep. That action is to think about something else. That action is to really focus on something you love, somebody you care about, something you really like to do, or just focus on your senses. So that is it for the first episode of Awareness, Acceptance, and Action. And tune in for episode 2 when I take an in-depth look at personal relationships. And for now, thank you for being here, and I'll see you at the PQ gym.